All right, guys. So I forgot about the 10-minute time limit on Screencastify and had to renew my subscription so that it was permanently long, or allows me to do as long as I want. So back to this. Somewhere in the walls, relays clicked, memory tapes glided under electric eyes. So I highlighted electric eyes for two reasons. One, it continues to show the use of technology. But two, the mood is creepy. I don't know that I would like somebody always looking at me, seeing me. Even when I was at home. But even more importantly, it makes me ask, what is happening to the information? Privacy? So that is why I highlighted all of that. 8 o'clock, or sorry, 8-1, tick tock, 8-1 o'clock, off to school, off to work, run, run, 8-1. But no doors slammed, no carpets took the soft tread of rubber heels. It was raining outside. The weather box on the front door sang quietly, "Rain, rain, go away, rubber's raincoats for today." And the rain tapped on the empty house, echoing. All right, so in this paragraph, I highlighted, but no door slammed. And then I highlighted, I highlighted the idea of the repetition again. 8-1, 8-1, and then 8-1. So 3 times. So I already had noted, this is kind of where it really clicked with me the first time. And even though I went back and put the idea of repeating things over. And then if you look at repeated the date 3 times for memory's sake. So now I'm going to actually go back because I'm starting to notice that pattern. And now I'm beginning to wonder what the motif is. And so I'm going to take a guess at it. So it's not just a motif of repeating, but a motif of repeating 3 times. So my guess is Bradbury is trying to tell us about the fact that humanity, so humans, is losing its intelligence because of technology. And I think this is true. Now, I probably wouldn't put this in a normal annotation, but I'm putting it here so that it helps you understand my thinking when you go back. I think this is true based on previous highlighting, the fact that the house has to tell me it's raining, I can't even look outside or hear it on the windows. And how to dress. And the idea of repeated the date 3 times for memory's sake. This implies that we're not smart enough to take care of ourselves, that we need all this technology in order to survive in our lives. Which actually brings me to the question, but the no doors slammed, the empty house, and again, look at that echoing, which I had actually noticed up here in emptiness. Where is everyone? Can't believe it took me that long to ask the question. All right. So now we're moving on to the next, and I'm going to read a little bit of it. Outside, the garage chimed and lifted its door to reveal the waiting car. After a long wait, the door swung shut again. At 8:30, the eggs were shriveled and the toast was like stone. An aluminum wedge scraped them down a metal throat, which digested and flushed them away to the distant sea. The dirty dishes were dropped into a hot washer and emerged twinkling dry. After a long wait, the door swung down again. Okay, that's definitely personification. As if the door was inconvenienced. Then in this next paragraph, and honestly with Bradbury, he's very, very descriptive, uses a lot of metaphors, a lot of personification, a lot of imagery in his writing. So obviously I'm not going to go through and identify all of it. I have to be a little discerning and kind of figure out the ones that are trying to tell me what he's saying. So here's the thing that stood out for me in this next part. A metal throat digested and flushed them away to a distant sea. So again, obviously there is personification, but, of the idea of digested, having a system that can digest something. But here's the part that was in a throat, obviously. The word metal is what really stood out to me. And the reason why that stood out to me is that metal, Bradbury's use of the word metal makes me think of something cold and hard. So while technology helps make our lives easier, it really can't replace mankind. It's lifeless, cold, and unfeeling. So notice how I even integrated Bradbury's use of metal to describe the throat. That is actually something, a fragment integration you could use in a paper. And then notice how I analyzed it afterwards. 9:15, saying the clock, time to clean. Out of warrens in the wall, tiny robot mice darted. The rooms were a crawl with the small cleaning animals, all rubber and metal. They thudded against chairs, whirling their mustached runners across the rug nap, sucking gently at hidden dust. Then, like mysterious invaders, they popped into their burrows. Their pink electric eye faded. The house was clean. 10 o'clock, the sun came out from behind the rain. The house stood alone in the city of rubble and ashes. This was the one house left standing. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow, which could be seen for miles. All right. I'm going to go back up to this first paragraph. And out of all of this, there's a lot of description, rubber, metal. I've already kind of tackled the metal issue. But I'm looking at tiny robot mice and then also mysterious invaders. And the reason why is these words are kind of a contrast in this paragraph. So I'm beginning to think that Bradbury's not a fan of technology and it overtaking aspects of our lives and replacing humans. And what tells me this is that mice are rodents, pests. They're things that we hire people to get rid of. We don't want them in our house, and they're gross and they're dirty. So if Bradbury really liked technology and he felt really positive about it, he might have used something like a bunny rabbit or a puppy, something that isn't gross that we as people are trying to get rid of in our house. And then when you add in mysterious invaders, the word invaders tells us he feels like technology that technology is what is invading our lives. 10 o'clock, the sun came out from behind the rain. The house stood alone in the city of rubble and ashes. This was the one house left standing. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow. So I highlighted the house stood alone in the city of rubble and ashes. And then the one house left standing. Notice I didn't need the whole sentence. I only need the one house left standing. And then radioactive glow. All right. Now, I could write a bomb went off. Yep, we know that. We can assume that because of the radioactive glow, but I need more. And that might be some of my answers. First of all, the family and city is dead. It couldn't have happened too long ago because of the glow, even though we know that radioactive glow does last some time. But it also makes sense that there's still food left in the house for the kitchen to be able to cook. And then it made me really sad. Humankind is lost, and technology remains. "10:15, the garden sprinklers whirled up in golden founts, filling the soft morning air with scatterings of brightness. The water pelted window panes, running down the charred west side where the house had been burned evenly, free of its white paint. The entire west face of the house was black, save for 5 places. Here, the silhouette and paint of a man mowing a lawn. Here, as in a photograph, a woman bent to pick flowers. Still farther over, their images burned on wood in one titanic instant. A small boy, hands flung into the air, higher up, the image of thrown ball, and opposite him a girl raised to catch a ball which never came down." So I looked at the idea of the garden sprinklers. And I looked at this because it's a contrast of the horrors of the radioactive glare in the previous paragraph. And Bradbury is famous for this, putting them back together again. And it really actually helps to emphasize this soft, gentle cleansing of the sprinklers really can't remove the devastation. But it's trying. And then I looked at the entire west face of the house was black, save for 5 places. And I looked at this for several reasons. The first is the idea of west. And my first instinct is to ask, did the bomb come from the west? Which is most logical, given that it's set in California, given what our history was, and really given what technology was at that time to be able to determine could a missile or a bomb or that strike, it would probably have to be from the west. But then I looked at the fact that it says the entire west of the house was black. And I know that it's going to be black from the charring and all that, but putting it together makes me wonder, is Bradbury actually using to symbolize death? Let's put actually west and combined with black to symbolize death. Notice I included the literary element, which is symbolism, in here. So I did identify it. But I also am asking a pretty intelligent question. And here's what I'm going to then ask. Is it the death of the society? I'm assuming. And the reason I put this, my reasoning is that both West and Black oftentimes represents death in literature. And West, and I know some of you already know this, but West oftentimes represents death because it has the death of a day, the dying of a day. So equally then, East would represent a beginning or a rebirth, okay? And then I also looked at the 5 places, and that made me wonder, is that the family? And I know it is. And then I look at a man mowing a lawn, woman bent to pick flowers, and then the small boy and girl hand raised to catch. And the reason I highlighted this is because it looks at these everyday activities. And it doesn't have them engaged in technology upon death. Is that to perhaps forever preserve the image of what a normal life should be that isn't dependent on technology? So I'm kind of asking questions, but look at the level of my questioning. I'm trying to make inferences, draw conclusions based on what I've read in the text. It's not as simple as my one where I asked what happened to the family, okay? This is more of a digging in deep inference type question. So that would be that upper level of annotating. The 5 spots of paint, the man, the woman, the children, the ball, remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer. The gentle sprinkler filled the garden with falling light. So I looked at thin charcoal layer, and then I looked at gentle sprinkler of rain. Again, as if it's the imagery of complete human destruction. Can't type today. And then it's contrasted with a gentle sprinkler of rain. And we know rain oftentimes is a cleansing. And I think that for me, it feels like it's as if the sprinklers are trying to continue to clean up after humans. And wipe away these traces of what, let's use nature for the traces of nature / humanity. Those are part of nature. Until this day, how well the house had kept its peace, how carefully it had inquired, who goes there, what's the password, and getting no answer from the only foxes and whining cats, it had shut up its windows and drawn shades in an old maidenly preoccupation with self-protection, which bordered on mechanical paranoia. All right, I had shut up its houses, and I could have done any of it, kept its peace. And this is personification, and we know this. It's actually more than personification, but for our sake, we're just going to put personification. And the house is living. And I put the next part because the house is like an elderly person. When I say elderly, I mean super, super old. Think later 80s or 90s, who oftentimes feels lost in an ever-changing world, which then causes the person fear. And it reminds me of my grandma, who, as she got older, she was less hesitant to venture out of the house. She'd go out of the house, but she didn't like to drive. She didn't like to go too far from home. And that was more of that, kind of becoming fearful as she got older. And this happens more in the last stages of life. And then I thought, does that foreshadow death? It quivered at each sound, the house did. If a sparrow brushed a window, the shade snapped up. The bird, startled, flew off. No, not even a bird must touch the house. The house was an altar with 10,000 attendants, big, small, servicing, attending in choirs, but the gods had gone away, and the ritual of the religion continued senselessly, uselessly. 12 noon, a dog whined, shivering on the front porch. The front door recognized the dog's voice and opened. The dog, once large and fleshy, but now gone to bone and covered with sores, moved in and through the house, tracking mud. Behind it whirred angry mice, angry at having to pick up mud, angry at inconvenience. For not a leaf fragment blew under the door, but what the walls panels flipped open and the copper scrap rats flashed swiftly out. Okay, notice the use of rats. The offending dust hair or paper seized in a miniature steel jaws was raced back to the burrows. There, down tubes which fed into the cellar, it was dropped like evil bale in a dark corner. So on this one, the rest of this, I looked at the ritual of the religion continued senselessly and uselessly. And I'm wondering, is Bradbury suggesting the fact that we aren't questioning the ritual of excessive technology use in our lives? I know in one of my classes they mentioned how technology is too much when it's starting to replace human jobs. But this is even replacing aspects of our own presence in our own life, such as cleaning, and making meals for the family. So, is it too much? 12 noon. All right, I'm just going to highlight this because I haven't really done much with the time, but the time, constant tracking of time in here reveals that this house continues on as if life goes on. Yet, this house isn't alive. Then I looked at the dog. Okay, dogs, again, part of nature in a world of technology. We haven't seen much as far as technology or nature in here. So, there's like the bird, the dog. And then the fact that it's angry at the inconvenience. It makes me believe that this house can't move past. Their assigned jobs. Tasks. While they appear human, they lack true humanity and empathy. Because how can you not be sad about a dying dog? And then I looked at this next page, and evil Baal. Okay, so I obviously know it's bad because it's got the word evil. But if you look up this word, Baal is a demon. And considered the king of hell in the Hebrew Bible. So it's referencing saying that the technology is waging war with aspects of nature that gets in its way of doing its job. And at that point, we will stop and we will go ahead and pick this up in the next round. Have a good day.